Yes. Hello.
Thank you for coming back, man.
Thank you for
Always,
having me
yeah.
again.
What have you been up to?
What haven't I been up to is the question, to be honest. I've been studying, been prepping for exams, been planning my EP, been working on the side, been organizing my charity stuff, so been all over the
COVID didn't
place.
affect your school at all.
Yes, it did, because obviously everything now had switched to online class. But in terms of us actually having class, yeah, they did try to, continue that part. Just the way we did exams and things like that had changed for a bit. And of course, just adjusting to, being at home, not being able to move about and not having that balance in life, and mainly, having online class. But yeah, compared to here where school has been, shut off completely, we didn't have
You didn't
that.
have that?
No.
Ah. So you're among the lucky few that are not going to be set back.
Yeah,
like
a
people.
bit, but not as much as here. Yeah.
What do you mean a bit though?
Just because of the whole, online switch up, we weren't able to do as much work, as much of the curriculum. And also I'm a tutor, so I also help school kids. So I've seen how it has affected them as well. So yeah, definitely. I would be lying if I say no, everything has been great.
Yeah.
Even though, Germany is a country that's quite developed when it comes to, technology and things like that. But still, it had an effect on us for sure. Because no one expected this whole pandemic to be there,
How do you handle coming back to? When are you fully coming back to Uganda, or are you never gonna come back?
Coming back sounds interesting because obviously I was born in Germany actually.
Yeah.
So born and raised in Germany, but of course.
So that is your home.
I love home. I wouldn't say it's home. To me,
this
Masaka
whole
is
Masaka
home.
thing is for you.
That's deep, very deep to me. It's a very serious situation. But yeah, no, Masaka to me is home. It's just, I feel like, you see how they say home is like, it's more of a feeling. It's more of a, you feel at home. And now being in Germany, being the only black girl in class, or like one of the few black people in school, you never kind of feel at home because your surroundings just do not, look like you.
Yeah.
So yeah, but Uganda definitely, that's home to me. It's my heart. And I'm planning to, study and get my degree and everything, and then hopefully relocate to here mainly.
So speaking of Masaka's been terrible in Uganda.
I know.
I don't think you have like a clear picture of how bad it has been, but yeah, it has suffered a lot of stuff for about 8 months. Previously, we've had a lot of killings. People outside. I hope your people are not affected at all.
No, not directly. My grandmother did have a little scare, but we thank God nothing happened. She's fine. But yeah, I mean, it's been scary. It's been worrying. But I just pray that the situation calms down and that the government does something about this.
Yeah. Now let's really go into the big conversation. When you were on the podcast, you said you primarily came back to actually do charity.
Yes.
Around here. Mm-hmm. How is that going? What's the progress?
For now, since COVID, I feel like even that had been on, some sort of a break. Because mainly my charity organization was trying to concentrate on like sustainable help, which needs, a lot of monetary input and a lot of planning and things like that. But because of us not being able to travel as much and do all these things, it's definitely been affected. We've been more concentrating on now trying to support the people in like surviving during this pandemic, So things that I was trying to avoid before, like, just buying food and the necessities, we've now switched to doing that for the people that are already under the charity organization, just so that they can, survive during this period. But hopefully, after things calm down a bit more and, more people are vaccinated and things like that, we're hoping to get back to the initial plan.
Wait, what was the initial plan?
Just sustainable help. For example, we had started a poetry project at one school, Kako Primary. So we did that when some of the kids had started going to school. I think it was year 8 or something.
Yeah.
And they were so happy about it. They were starting to, learn about poetry, make money. It was part of their curriculum even. So it helped them in many ways. But obviously then when the kids left, we had to then sell the chickens, which, we didn't make any losses or anything. But obviously the whole point was for it to go on, for them to really benefit from it. But so for now, since kids are not in school, that project, for example, is on hold until they're back in school.
Wait, why is the project back in school yet? Right now, the kids have a lot of time to actually take part in all these other things that are not school.
Because, some kids, first of all, are very far from school. Their way to school is quite far. And the project was at school. And then also some of the teachers are not around school. It's just everyone has been affected. So families, some kids had to now start working with their parents just to, make an income for their family. So, things have been very complicated out there.
We've also had the government shut down a lot of non-profit organizations in the previous months. I hope a lot of them, there's a friend of mine who is... but most of them are just being politically attached.
Okay.
Or anything, or the funding. Government says a lot of people that are starting charity organizations use them to get funding to push political agendas as the long term, like usually. And that is the conversation you also had with Kenneth.
Yeah.
I think he hinted on starting out as charity, then you stand as MP, then
it is. I mean, I witnessed that when I registered the organization here in Uganda. I had a hard time with registering because there was so much fraud going on. So they made it so strict for people to register, which I understand because this is the reason, because I registered when I was 18, so I was still very young. But I could already tell that whenever I go to Masaka and go to these different places and I see these different organizations that are supposed to be doing certain work, but I'm not really seeing anything happening at, these places. So I was like, no, let me start my own thing so that I can actually see what goes into it and, be transparent. Me being someone that's young and, growing up in this whole social media area, I can at least use my platforms to share, and show the people that are supporting that, guys, we're actually doing what we're saying we're doing, I do understand that we have to be more strict and just, have an eye on all these organizations and make sure that they're actually doing what they're supposed to do.
So I see a lot of you doing social media activity, but besides, I never see you pay attention to the charity. I do not know if you actually succeeded in getting the website up. The new website?
Not yet. I wanted to work with young people on that. But I haven't done that yet. Exams have just been, taking my time up. But I'm definitely planning to relaunch beginning of next year, hopefully, if all goes well.
Okay. That sounds interesting. And most of this charity work you've been doing as you're in Germany, how is that possible for you now? How are you able to work with people on ground?
Well, firstly, I do travel quite a lot. I come to Uganda every, 3 months. Usually we do the monetary runs outside for that period. And then when we've collected enough to fulfill one project, we come and we do it in that time. Usually my time is quite fixed when I'm here, but I try to prioritize, doing that first because it involves other people as well. So that's how I try to balance. But of course, I have help on ground as well, who usually connect me to different people that, need help or just help me out with things in general. But I try to be as hands-on as possible when it comes to, the whole project.
So what is the main inspiration for this charity and the running? Because usually, again, people start charity and then push different agendas. We've had cases of other people trafficking, using charities to traffic children.
Yeah.
And Masaka is right now very vulnerable. So one would think that maybe in the future your long term could be to make a few trade-offs and get somewhere, because you're injecting a lot of money. Traveling back to Uganda after 3 months is quite pricey. Yeah. So what's like the inspiration?
I would say definitely, as I said, just coming to Uganda from when I was young, and my parents taking me around to different schools and villages and things like that. So they kind of put that in me already. So I feel like it is kind of a character trait for me as well. I just like helping people. It's very hard for me to not help. Sometimes it can be a good thing, sometimes it can be a bad thing. But I feel like it's just in my nature. And then again, I started when I was 18. So when you start something at that young age, I think you already have an idea of what you want to do, and it kind of shows the kind of person that you are. So I feel like it's mainly that. And then also how I mentioned, just seeing that the other organizations are not doing what they're supposed to do. Because initially I was like, okay, I can maybe join another organization and volunteer for like a year or something. That was initially my thought. But when I saw that it's not really, they're not really doing the work, I was like, no, I need to
What is the work in this case?
Helping out, doing what they're supposed to do. A lot of organizations collect a lot of money and put it in places that it's not supposed to be going. So the people who are vulnerable end up with, maybe 10% of what, they were supposed to be having.
In one of the podcasts I've had, actually, it was with Dwelling Places, with Director of Dwelling Places, who also runs a charity that deals with street children. And they emerged from the street life. So we had a very long conversation, relatable, because I was trying to show her where people misunderstand the street child, because I am part of the street children. I've been on the streets myself before. The one thing I know is definitely, if let's say you get grants, the people you're supporting are still going to have 10%, because the whole aim, you say you get the 90% is still going to go to your personal bank to run your personal skills, but you're still providing the help to the children. The 10% is still enough, because they do not have anything. You're providing the basics, and at least you're putting them somewhere. But then it's also funding now your personal lifestyle. Is it the same thing with you?
No. You see, let's say we do a campaign, and usually we already have plans for projects that we want to do beforehand. So let's say with the poetry project, we called it education. So the campaign was education. We already had the plan of what we wanted to do, and we put it out there and asked people to support. So they sent in funds to support this project in particular. So it was already written down. I cannot now come and be like, all right, we've already budgeted for it, but I'm going to take off this much money to, I don't know, buy myself a new bag or whatever it is, because I've already given that transparency beforehand, showing that these are the things that we want to do. These are the prices. Of course, it can be a bit more, a bit less, but there's not as much of a big window when you're that transparent from before. It's a difference if someone says, oh, we just, support our charity and just fund us, but they don't have a plan set beforehand. Then I feel like that's where some people can get out of hand, and, funds can land in places where they're not supposed to be.
When you speak of transparency, I want you to give a detail onto that, because usually most organizations still audit and account more funds to themselves than. How do you make sure that whatever you're asking for is used and utilized to do exactly that? And it's not just an overpriced budget. I try to do a lot of groundwork. Good enough, I'm here often. Also with Poetry Project, for example, my uncle and aunt, they have a poetry business. So they were literally my go-to people, from like, how much do chickens cost? Like, what's the maximum? What's the minimum? How many, what the medical costs, like, because they need to be vaccinated. They get, vitamins and all these things. When chickens get sick, what costs come, So I listed all of those things down. But in the end, we were lucky, for example,
our chickens got sick once, and we could already use the vitamins that we already had. So, no chicken died or anything like that. So, we were covered on that. But I had listed these possibilities down that,
Is this poultry? Are you selling layer birds or broilers?
They're broilers.
Okay, interesting. My elder sister is doing the same project.
Yeah.
But it's her business this time. It's not charity.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've seen she's struggling a lot.
Really?
Not like she's struggling because she doesn't have the funding, but the first batch was a success. But then COVID hit, and then the movement of birds and the market.
Okay, it's the market after selling, not keeping them and
no.
Okay.
Because I think she handles them very well. They're also at home, so it's easier. They're very well monitored.
Yeah.
Next to her. So okay, that's interesting. So let's go back to you in Germany.
Yes.
I have seen one of your most recent videos online on social media with your father.
Yeah.
You have such a very strong relationship with your father.
I do.
What do you call him, PDD? PDD, the character, is just PDD is rich, but then he has this other character of a very toxic human being.
Yeah. I feel like, I gave that name to my father years ago. So this whole toxic side of P. Diddy, I hadn't even known about it yet. But no, just P. Diddy of like back in the days in the videos, I don't know, just his mannerism and how he, conducts himself. True. So I feel like my dad just has that vibe. So that's why I gave him that name, and the whole family ran with it. Everyone knows now.
So one of the strongest issues with parenting, mostly around Africa, is culture dictates that there's always difference. Parents are authoritarian in how they handle their children. So in most of the comments you're getting, that is the reality. People are saying, I literally can't be in the same room with my father. That is most of the reality a lot of people are living. How do you describe growing up with your father too? Is it because you've grown up in Germany and the culture is different?
I wouldn't say so, because I have very balanced parents. My mother, for example, when I hear stories about her and her father, that is more what she says, like dinners and things like that. It was their father on the table, and, it was the kids separately. But my father, with his father, because my grandfather was a teacher and head teacher of the school. So he had a very close relationship with my dad. So I think my father got that from his father already, that and type of exactly. And he just ran with it, and that's what he knew. That's the relationship he had with his father, and he enjoyed it. So I think that's how it was with him. So my father is very, I respect him. I know he's my father. There's things that I wouldn't be doing out of respect because he's my father.
Things like what?
I wouldn't speak a certain way, and it's not even like me anyways, but just being disrespectful or not listening or things like that. There's a way I speak to him, but I couldn't just treat him like a friend of mine, a buddy, or what is it's not like that. But it's definitely a very good relationship. He's very how can I say, like, we talk about a lot of things. He values my opinion. Asks for advice, vice versa. He always says, this is why I find it interesting that people say it's in our culture, because there's a Uganda that says, how does it go? Something like that. So he says that thing a lot. And he's like, we can learn so much from children as well. So I feel like these are the things that are actually in our culture, but it's like
they're ignored.
Exactly. People, we don't really learn about these things, but they're embedded in Uganda. So I think that's just what he went with, and that's how he looks at life.
Do you ever come back to Uganda with your father and still have this same relationship around all these aunties and uncles?
Yeah.
How is that treated then?
Fine, because they know my father and they knew my grandfather, so they're used to that. Yeah, they're used to that. There's certain things, of course, sometimes where, my grandmother, for example, bless her heart, she's 95. She would sometimes look at us and be like, some things, she'll be like, that's too much,
Yeah.
But it's just about adjusting, Once you're around us, you'll just understand that, it's nothing it's fine the way it is.
But I also feel like we are supposed to have, rather than just respect is a given, yeah?
Yes.
And respect is something obvious. When you respect someone, they feel it, they see it.
Exactly.
But I feel like the whole respect thing is very misinterpreted. So people end up having this distance because of respect. They respect people, not parents in Uganda. I'm saying Uganda because I've grown up here, and I know with my own father. It's luckily enough for me, which is both good and bad. My father spent a lot of time outside of the country, was studying, so most of the time it was just him coming to holidays and the interaction. So it was not really hard. Like, I see how other people are treated, so it's very easy for me to have conversations with him on things, because then there's also a blame game of just telling you, hey, look, man, you are not around. Exactly. So you do not know what I've been going through. But I feel like the whole, with how I was raising my child when he was still with me, it was more of being a friend first than the label of just being a father. I remember I had this issue with my dad, who is now the grandfather to the child, when I told him I do not actually mind my child calling me my name and not him calling me dad or anything. Like, at that age, because a lot of, then he also grew up with my siblings. I have very young siblings who are, he's actually older with someone he calls auntie, so he's older than a few of them. So it's more like they're calling me my name, then he has to now peruse and call me dad. So like, no, let them on, just call me my name. And it's the interaction, let him be used to me, because the respect has to come automatically. I don't believe that, I believe in being friends first than the labels, because I believe the labels bring this whole, no, that one is now a father, so there's that whole imagined authority that shouldn't actually be there. And this is why people are shocked that you actually can't have your father on a blog. I've also been trying to convince my father to just come on this podcast, to just give me his story, and it's
speak it into existence, it will happen.
No. Let me just keep watching the conversations, but I think it's coming along. With time, but you're a big inspiration to all of us now. It's something.
Humbled.
I feel like with the relationship you have, is also because you've spent a lot of time outside and not here. So there are not a lot of, how can I term it? A lot of things that are just barricades to, because if you were to grow up here, there'll be aunties coming into your business and all that stuff we're all facing, because parents just do a lot of things to impress their next door people around here. It's more of what will those people think of us than what do we think in our house.
That's why I said my parenting is very balanced, because my mom is more of that type, but my dad's character, that's just how it is. So even because I have siblings that grew up in Uganda and went to school in Uganda and everything, but he's like that with them as well. So it's just his character, that's how he is. He doesn't care much about what other people think, because people have questioned his parenting many times, but he's like, look guys, my children, because we're like 10, 11 kids, and he's like, they're all great. You cannot tell me that any of my children are not great. Everyone's doing good, everyone's great, so I don't see what the issue is. So it's just his character, because family does try to margin and be like, I don't think that's right, I don't think, but I feel like for me, parenting is, you just have to know your child, and you have to know how to deal with them, because I see it with me and my siblings. I can tell that we're all different. What works for me, Melissa, for example, I'm someone who, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I've never tried smoking anything at that, so that's just my character. But I've been around people who do it. But my parents have given me the freedom to do whatever I want. I've been in clubs. My dad, at the age of 8 or something, which is, I shouldn't even be doing that, But just because they have the confidence in, Melissa's big-headed. No one will convince her to do something she doesn't want to do. So let her do whatever, she wants to do. But then there's other siblings of mine, I'm not going to mention any names, where you cannot do that. You have to kind of give them a bit of a, that one, I don't think that's a good idea. Maybe you shouldn't, they get groups and, start. But all in all, I think you just have to study your child. It's important to have a relationship with your child. If it's this distant.
Did you grow up around your dad?
Mostly I did. He wasn't around as a lot. There's times when I used to see him every other weekend. There's times where I didn't see him for a period of months. But he was always present, I should say. Like a phone call away, if anything. Yeah. But it's not like, I didn't hear from him he was definitely around,
Yeah, I think we shared. My dad doesn't smoke or drink or do any of that stuff, and he's always never minded about if you smoke or drink or do any of that stuff. Yeah. It turns out that we do not now. I've tried to smoke. I've tried to drink.
Yeah.
I also just realized it's not my thing, or maybe because I saw that it is something my dad didn't want to do. So I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, okay, it's first of all stressing, but then I wouldn't want to do it because I didn't see it grow up.
Yeah.
I didn't see my dad. I'm not predisposed to any of that stuff. So it's interesting that we share that in common.
But also, you know what's interesting? My father used to drink a lot and he used to smoke all the time around me. Now I feel like because I saw that and because I saw the state that he was in, and I have uncles as well that drink a lot, I feel like that's what made me feel, this thing is not for me. I don't see good things coming from that. So it's interesting that you say you didn't see your dad doing any of that, so it didn't, draw you in. But then for me, it was like I saw all of that, but I was like,
because for me, with parties, he kept saying, no, you guys should drink the alcohol like every other child around here. Like, you should be like a child.
Yeah.
And growing up at home, no one was drinking.
Yeah.
People were just pretending. The most we could do is to drink a beer that is sweet, like maybe Smirnoff or stuff like that. But then now we get our freedom. We get away from home. We get our freedom. I try all these things. I try the smoking. I have my friends. I see a lot of stories. I hear this man's story. I put it on a podcast. Then I sit back and I'm like, no, this is not what I want to do. This is just too much work. And I just quit. I'm like, no, this is really not it.
It's not for you.
Do you feel you're going to raise your children the same way?
I think I'm going to take the best of both worlds, from both of my parents. I'm going to try and mix their parenting. Because if you would have asked me, whose do I prefer? Yeah. I couldn't tell you. Most people see the relationship I have with my father and they're like, oh, Mel probably, her father's probably her favorite parent, things like that. No. I love my parents both, and they both played a huge part in the person that I am.
Are you saying today. This because they have to listen to this podcast?
No. I really do. And I believe in both of them, because if it wasn't for my mother, I don't think I would be this humble and cultured person that I am. I don't think I would love my home country as much and have those values, those core values that I have. I definitely got them from my mother. Some people would say maybe my dad, for example, didn't always agree with how she, tried to teach us these things. But looking back, I understand. In the moment, of course, when you're a child, you can be a bit rebellious and be like, no, I don't. But no, looking back, I definitely understand. And she did the right thing, and I'm very happy that she taught us.
How is it possible for you to transition between two cultures? The Uganda culture is extremely hardcore. There's a lot involved.
Yeah.
On how you're supposed to be a woman.
Definitely.
But then you're living in the Western world where it's
opposite.
Complete opposite.
Yeah.
How is the transition like for you?
It's been good, actually. I feel like since my mom is such a Muganda woman, definitely at home, once you open the door, I'm in little Uganda, basically. Little Masaka, I should even say. So all these things that she does and she teaches, that happens at home. So the time I spend in school is the time I spend in school. But every time when I go back home, it's my culture. I know where I come from. I know.
So your mom is still a Muganda woman, but in Germany? In
Germany, definitely. Yeah. My mother even took Omanye and Sua, the water. From Uganda, she took it to Germany. As in, we have that chapati. Instead of just using a pan, she has the proper stone, whatever thing, packed it, got. So there's nothing that you would want that you can't get in her household.
What do you think about the culture in general? Is it something you really appreciate, or is it because you have to be a good girl and follow your mom?
No, I do appreciate it, but I think it's the way how I was taught it. So you see how we talked about like parenting, and I just told you something that is in our culture that people don't really talk about. So the actual culture that it is, I think is very beautiful. What people make it is a different story. But the core of our actual culture, the things that I do know, because I don't know everything, but the things that I do know that I have been taught, I think are beautiful.
What are some of these things you've been taught?
Just being a people's person, you know, being very welcoming, being respectful.
But you know, respect, it does not mean that the Western world, there's no respect to it. Living like...
you're talking to someone who's grown up in Germany, going to school. Like, I've seen how children interact with our teachers and how it is here. I'm not saying, like I said again, here, sometimes what people make it can be a bit harsh as well, but I feel like the core of how it's supposed to be, you can definitely tell. Because in Germany, you can find a school kid standing on a teacher's table. Like, for what? You're going to school to learn. I don't care how good of a friend you are with your teacher. That is just something that's wrong. You get it? You can be having conversations with your teacher. I wouldn't mind that. That's maybe one thing that here we don't find as much, which would be nice. Yeah. But you can do that in a respectful way. But you don't have to be stepping on teachers' tables, and that's just...
Do you ever confuse culture, the two different cultures for racism? Like, maybe these people are designed like this, and back home it's like this. And the disrespect, what you might term as disrespect.
Yeah.
And you find it as... Because I was talking to a friend of mine, Martin. So he left to go to New York. And some of the incidences, I'm not saying he was not racially abused because he was black. And America has a lot of cases like this. So I would understand where he was coming from. But some of the cases he was explaining to me were just different cultures. But because he's also hardcore Uganda person, from down here, grown up here, raised here, it's, to him, that was racism. But then in my understanding of what he was explaining to me, it was, okay, no, this different people living different lifestyles. Because most of the times I've also worked for some people from the Western world. My bosses are not really racist, but because of their culture, this is how they choose to behave.
I hear that, definitely. There's a very thin line, I feel like. It's very, very thin. And I think especially when you experience it and you're actually living in that world, there's a way you just feel. Like I've said this before, it's like every day I leave my apartment in Germany, I don't know what can happen to me outside. And it's not as dangerous as how you feel, you see like the news of like the black person in America, especially for males, like shooting or things like that. No, Germany in that sense is very organized, but just the approach of how people handle you, how they speak to you, how they look at you, how, you know, those things, you just never know what can happen. So there's a way you always feel uncomfortable. Unlike here when I'm home, I go out and I'm just like, you know, I don't have to think twice of like, you know, what if someone comes and looks at me oddly or, you know, treats me in a bad way, or let's say I'm going for a job interview, what if, you know, the people there are racist? All these things I don't have to think about when
How is it like living, you as a black woman living in Germany?
Me personally,
is it...
I've not had that bad of an experience compared to the stories that I've heard. Germany is quite a big country. I think it also depends on where you live in Germany. Yes. If you're in a place, for example, my region, Hessen, is a place that is quite multicultural. It's not a lot of black people, but a lot of Moroccan people, Turkish people. So they're used to foreigners. So, you know, there's a way that, you know, the foreigners kind of also connect in a way, you know, because everyone has left their home country and things like that. So you don't get as much backlash. I haven't with me. But then also, I'm a very strong character. So I feel like people kind of are like, Mel, let's not mess with her. Because my little brother, there's stories that he has from like school where I was heartbroken, but I never experienced any of that, you know? So yeah, I think it definitely depends on the person that you are, how you, you know, portray yourself, how you show yourself, the character that you have, and then also where in Germany you're located.
Okay, great. That is some insightful view on how things are.
Yeah.
So, now, let's go a bit to you, the musician, as Melissa. Mm-hmm. How are you balancing? Because your fan base, the biggest bit is Uganda, right?
Yeah.
You're singing for us.
Yeah.
People. But then you have grown up
in Germany.
What do you want to say? So what you want to say? Nice, interesting. Yeah, you have a new fan there who is probably very interested in you. But alright. So you're singing for us, the fans, yeah?
Yes.
But you're then based in Germany.
Yes.
Your friendships, because a lot of how music moves around here, it's your friends have to appreciate it. How do you balance your friends? And you also have a lot of friends, from what I see on your social media, a lot of your friends are celebrities. Maybe I do not know if you know them as celebrities or just people you have grown up with.
Yeah.
But they're celebrities down here.
Yeah.
So how are you balancing that? How do you embed, because you're making music for us, you should understand our situations. How do you make music that
I think
that can speak to me?
Yeah. I think with me, because how you said the fan base, it came after the music came, if that makes sense. So me initially doing music was literally just my surroundings being like, Mel, you should do this, you know? So that's how it started. For me, it was just mainly of, I have passion for this. I love music. All right, let me give it a go. Let me do it. And then the fan base for that kind of grew. So I didn't really think, how am I going to approach, you know, Ugandans with my music? No, I just did what I felt most comfortable with, and, you know, the music that I enjoy myself and listen to. And I think when you listen to my music, you can tell that it's not your typical Ugandan sound. It's also not your typical German sound, you know, even though that's what I am. But it's just a mixture of music that I listen to, music that I enjoy, and just topics that I want to cover. So I feel like, it's more of that.
Interesting. So the EP, how far are you with it?
Very close to being done. I'm still working on a few surprises for it.
You've not released any other music apart from Empire of Love?
I have another song called Make You Proud.
It's out?
So those it's out. So I have those 2 songs out right now. And I'm working on a 6-track EP. So hopefully it will.
In this case, are you making your new fans proud? Are you making your dad proud?
Make You Proud is a dedication to parents. Yeah, definitely. Dedication to parents. And even in the lyrics, if you listen to the lyrics, you can tell like what parts I'm talking about my dad, what parts I'm talking about my mom, but also, you know, dedicating to children that don't have their parents anymore and things like that. So yes, it's a song about, you know, parents.
How do you suppose pushing music? Because a lot, I see you have very active engagement on social media. You of course the guys like you a lot and they're always hyped about what you drop, but then when it comes to music, it's tricky. We've seen 22 Party come out to hit.
Should I give you guys a fun fact?
Yeah.
Pia Pounds is my cousin.
Yeah, you've told me that online. Told me that. So definitely she has really hit stones.
Yeah, so happy, proud of her.
Do you guys have any music together coming up?
No, we haven't. No, we've actually not worked on anything together. But yeah, we're definitely going to link up today, actually. And I'm going to listen to some of the stuff that she's been working on. So we do advise each other a lot in that sense, you know, when it comes to music. I met her not even knowing that she's my cousin in the first place. So I met her through her being an artist and recording music, and just, you know, her asking me, what do you think of this? And, you know, but
how did you find out that you're cousins?
How did I find out? She sent me a picture one day, because basically I met her at Big Talent. So she was under like Eddie Kenzo's and all of that. So I was working with Eddie as well during that time, doing shows and stuff like that. And then there's a day she sent me a picture of like my older brother and her. And she's like, oh, by the way, I found out we're family. I was like, huh? What do you mean? She's like, yeah, I'm here, your brother. That's, you know, my cousin, Biti. I was like, wow. And then I took her to Masaka, to Kako, where my grandmother is. And then she told my grandmother who her parents are. And then she's like, what? So my grandmother was so happy because she hadn't seen her ever, I think, or when she was very little. So yeah, and then my grandmother gave us a history lesson of how we're related and, you know, all these things. So yeah, that's how I found out.
Good. That's a very good story. With regards pushing, let's say, Make You Proud, are you going to use the same direction she used of... no, she actually didn't use this direction. This direction found her. Yes.
Yeah.
But she had a lot of viral. The song hit a lot of people, then it hit MC Africa, then it went viral. But besides that, still, it had all these other influencers blow it up every other day.
Yeah.
And it's something, I do not know if you use your dad to do like a viral vid now that your dad is also popular online. I think your last video has about 30k views.
I didn't even know.
That's noticing. So it's crazy. Those are good numbers. So are you going to use that same direction? Blow up maybe on TikTok? How do you suppose you're going to push your music?
That's a very good question. It's something I'm thinking about a lot. It's also something that is making me, you know, hold up on releasing the EP. Just because I also know that I have my university and that's like my main focus. So yeah, because music, it really does take a lot of work, and especially if you don't have a big team behind you. So that is what I'm thinking about at the moment. But I definitely think, I mean, social media is a God-given blessing when it comes to the music industry, you know. TikTok as well. It's crazy how songs are just blowing up on, you know, TikTok. It's like the app is really creating hits at this point. But yeah, I think it's definitely a very good approach. And also, I feel like if you do that, it's more relatable in a way. And I just love seeing the interaction with like music and on social media, because I'm always on Twitter and these things, they entertain me as well as a person. So that would definitely be a beautiful thing.
But also speaking of most of the music that is getting out there from Uganda, all these artists are signed to big labels because then they need big teams to get things done. When you look at Azawi, then others that have dropped out of big labels like Fameka and there's this chick Irene Tale have also come down. Like we do not hear any more of them. Say Fameka's current, I think the biggest hit still is Buligita, but he has also released more music after that, but it has still not done
as big as
but
Buligita, he wasn't signed by then as well.
Yeah, Buligita wasn't, but that's the only big hit he has after Kama Ivan. All these other songs are just...
Would you say that?
Yeah, they're not hitting as Fameka. Fameka used to release one song and your streams would be up in a minute.
I feel like...
Irene Tale is silenced right now.
Yeah. With Irene, I don't know how her contract is, because obviously she had also done a deal with...
Swangs Avenue?
Yeah, no. With the South... Is it Nigerian... Who did she... Was it Universal or something? She signed...
I don't know, but recently she was even asked if she... I just know that she fell out with Swangs Avenue so bad.
Yeah, that was years ago though.
That was said, from 2017.
Yeah.
That is when she fell out with Swangs Avenue. But she has never come back up from
after that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So do you think you need to be signed to a label?
I don't think it's necessarily the label, but definitely you need a team with everything you do. If you're planning to do it on your own alone, it's definitely going to be hard. And when you have a team that actually knows what they're doing, I think that's also the big part. Because me personally, when it comes to music, I have a lot of artists that I help behind the scenes with like music distribution. I never went to school for that or anything, but I saw artists who were literally just surviving on gigs and shows here in Uganda. And I was like, guys, at least put your music out there on the streaming platforms and try, to make some money off of that. So in the pandemic, most of them even reached out to me and said, Mel, I don't even know what I would have done if I didn't have that stream of income, you know? So I think it's more about knowing the business side of like music and having people behind you that know that. But I don't think you necessarily need to have a huge label behind that, because there's big artists that are signed to the Sonys, the Universals, and
but
they're not being able to, you know.
Labels can't take the risk, which risk you could also be very willing to take rather than you, because you do. Now, again, COVID has also hit, so the injection of how much money you can individually put into your music.
Yeah.
Unless you're very passionate about it,
True.
but I do not see you getting back that amount of money from the music right now. So that is where the label comes in. It takes the risks for you, then you get a fair. Most of these times it's not actually fair. This is why the filmmakers are not going back to their labels. So
exactly,
they feel like it's not fair. But then when you look into what the label is doing and how much, because we did not know about filmmaker, then they come, they put him on the map, they dress him up, they do all these videos, first class videos, they put in that amount of
No, I definitely that one I definitely see. I hear where you're coming from with that. I think just for me, because I just like being hands-on with things. I like knowing, you know, what's happening, and I like being in control of like what direction. Now, when you're in a label, you're a bit restricted when it comes to these things. But then again, in my case, since it's not my main, you know, income and my main focus, I'm a bit more free with it. And then also me doing music, the input in terms of like recording and stuff like that, I've been very blessed to have, you know, amazing producers who are literally just helping me, basically, just friends of mine who are like, yo, Mel, I have a beat, let's work together. You know, other artists who are like, I want to be on a track with you, let's, you know, and I don't have to pay them to do that or things like that. So yeah, and even when it comes to like the music being on different radio stations and TV stations, you know, I have friends that work on different radios and TV, so they've literally loved them so much. They've really been such a big help when it comes to that. I haven't had, you know, to struggle. But of course, to be on a next level, let's say, for me, if I was to look at being this huge, big, viral personality, it takes a lot. It takes a lot. But
do you have dreams of becoming like a Beyonce?
Maybe not Beyonce. I don't
Beyonce's
know how.
The biggest female.
Amazing. No one like
Beyonce,
her.
Rihanna.
But in terms of maybe Rihanna more so, but she hasn't been releasing music. But in terms of building an empire and doing different things, I see myself doing that. So I'm not just, for example, studying, I'm doing health. So that's something completely different than music. But that's something I'm also very passionate about and something I want to do. So I want to be able to do all of those things that, you know, make me who I am.
How is it easy for you to do actually health? I feel like reproductive health is like one of those hardcore courses. How do you balance that with your music? And your lifestyle as a celebrity. Let me put it in that code, because you're all up on social media. Yeah, but that's what it calls for you. All up in social media, and you spend a lot of time on social media. So how is that for you? How do you balance that with school? Basing on the fact that you do.
Yeah, I try to, with studies, when it's time for exams, I try to shut everything off. I usually even announce, I'm like, guys, I'm going to be off the grid for the next month because exams are coming up, you know. Music is usually when I'm here. I, you know, get to record and things like that. So yeah, it's mainly the time that I take off when I'm here. The good thing is with uni schedules, usually 3 months of studying, then exams, then you're off for 3 months. Then you go again, 3 months of studying, exams, off for 3 months.
How is it easy for you to put off your mind? Because, you know, it's one thing to just announce, you know, I'm going to do my exams. Then the person as Melissa, how do you then switch into, now let me just do the academia thing? Because, it's... The mind space alone is... Yeah,
definitely. Especially when you are used to being on socials for a lot of time.
Exactly.
But I've tried to reduce my screen time in general in my day-to-day life already. Like I used to wake up and first thing, phone. And I've cancelled that out, you know. The first 30 minutes or an hour is just me time, you know. I'm not on a screen, on a phone or anything like that. So yeah, I try to incorporate that in my day-to-day life. So when it's time for exams, it gets a bit easier for me to just be like, okay, now it's time. And I know it's not going anywhere. Like, I'm going to come back. Though some of the platforms try to play with your algorithm after you know, you're off for a bit. But yeah.
I also see you extremely hyped up on social media. How does this make you feel?
I don't really see it, you know. I've been told this quite a lot.
There's this news site, Joseph's news site, mbu.ug, that is always posting you. I don't know. They're just kind of reduced. I do not know if the guy behind it just has this crush on you or something. But then they will have to post you at least every week. Like, okay, we get the point. Okay. How does this make you feel? Do you feel like,
it's interesting to me, to be honest. It's interesting. I'm always just like surprised every time. I'm just like, oh, okay. But yeah, I don't know. I don't take it too seriously, if that makes any sense. I try not to. I'm a very calm, person.
Do you meet all these people when you come back too?
I do meet some of them, but not all of them. Because usually, like I said, my schedule is always so strict. So I try to, because I actually enjoy being around people. I think some people don't understand. I don't know if it's something they're not used to, but I actually don't mind being around strangers and having conversations. To me, that's interesting. When I'm in Masaka, sometimes my uncle who drinks alcohol, he takes me to his bars and I'm there literally having full-on conversations with people that I do not know. And people will look and be like, why is she talking to some, drunkards? But you find so many interesting stories in people, and you learn so much when you speak to just different people of different walks of life. And that's how you also connect and you build certain relationships and stuff like that. So that's just naturally the person, that I am. So sometimes people are surprised. They're like, I wouldn't think you would, just sit here and talk to me. I'm like, what do you mean?
So how much time do you spend in Kampala compared to Masaka when you're back in Uganda?
It depends on what my main travel purpose is. If I'm here mainly because of music first, then it's more times Kampala, yes. If it's more charity, then I'm a bit more in Masaka. Or if we have family functions going on or, prayers or things like that, I might be more in Masaka. But usually I try to, I would say it's 70% Kampala, 30% Masaka.
So are you back for charity or
finishing the AP and a break, because I've been in exams and I deserve it because I passed them. So yeah, I'm also on a break.
So you're doing music. Are you working with any other guys? I was talking to the Myth yesterday about you being around.
Yeah.
So he was telling me, he asked how long you're around here, because that's one. He thinks about also getting you on the podcast, which we'll organize, because then I do that for him. Yeah. But also, probably working with him will be very good, I think. He has very good music. Yeah, he also, does. Besides the Ugandan album, he has this other music he wants to come out with. Okay. So I do not know what you're looking at with the EP or music.
We have actually been at studio together. Yeah. There's a song that I wanted us to work on, but unfortunately, I don't even remember what happened during that time. But we weren't able to do that. But definitely, I think sooner or later we'll be working on something, because he's so talented. Do you write your own music? I do, but I don't call myself a songwriter. But yeah, the music that is out, I have written myself.
All the music you've written yourself?
Yeah. Empire of Love, I've had help from Beanie Ganta. He was at studio. So he helped me. But yeah, mainly Make You Proud, I wrote all of it. And even other songs that are going to come out.
What's the actual process of coming up with an EP? Both mentally and studio time? How do you come up with the songs and stuff?
I usually find myself just, vibing, and I'm in a certain mood, and then I feel like I want to speak on that. And then I usually look for beats or instrumentals. And I either send them to different producers, and I'm like, are you able to work on something like this? Or I just tell the producers that, send me beats. And then if I hear one beat that I'm like, oh, this is nice, I start writing on it. So yes, usually it's always different, but mainly I do work closely with producers, because I didn't study music, so I don't know the perfect terms and things like that. So I'm always explaining myself in my own language, saying, I want this and I want that. But I've really been blessed to work with talented people that are just masters of their craft and have just made the whole experience so fun.
Then with the music videos, do you envision the video before you do the song and feel like this is how my video should be, or you also do give the whole concept to the videographer?
It depends.
I'm asking this because I want to really work on your videos.
Yeah.
With my team.
Nice.
So
but yeah, it really depends. Sometimes you can have a song, or I could have a song and be like, I see exactly how I want it to look. And sometimes I can have like so many different ideas, but it's like all over the place. Make You Proud, for example, doesn't have a video yet. And I really don't know how I want it to look. Like, I have so many different ideas, but I can't pinpoint, okay, this is how I want it to be. So that's why it's also taken me long to, do that video. And I'm probably going to even hold up on it, after the EP and probably shoot something else first. But there's one song I did with a guy called Benji Kasule, who's also so talented, writer, producer, singer, and we have a song together, and for that I have like the whole concept of the whole video already. I see it visually, and yeah, he's up for that as well. So it really depends on the song in my case.
Then the selection of who gets on the EP, or how people you collaborate with.
Yeah.
How do you come up with that? Like, I want to work with this guy.
Yeah.
Is it because you're friends with people, or because you feel like this person is talented and you want to relate with how to come up with their music?
Sometimes I have certain songs where I would write something. For example, The Myth, the song that I wanted to work with him on, I had already had the song, and I could just hear him on it. I didn't even know who he was by then, but like, I saw him on the timeline, checked out his music, and I was like, that is the type of voice that I want on this type of track. And then, there's other times where I'm just in studio chilling, and an artist might, walk in, and they're like, what are you guys recording? And, it sounds dope. And they just go on the mic and start freestyling there and then. And we end up, making a song. So, it's just different. But mainly for me, it's usually just hearing a certain sound and wanting a certain person on that track, if that makes any sense.
You mentioned working with Kenzo.
Yeah.
Have you released that music yet? I also appreciate how Kenzo really incorporates culture in whatever he's doing.
Oh, yeah.
He's moved to that stage where he's not just doing music because he's a big guy.
Yeah.
He wants to sell a culture.
Yeah.
He wants to sell concepts, and he works with all these other people.
Definitely.
So,
yeah. Me and Eddie, actually working with him was more of like his show and management. That side, that was what I was doing. Musically, there's some songs, I don't even remember the names, where I would be in the studio and just back up different tracks that he was recording. But they might even be out because I don't remember the songs. It was literally just me being in the studio, and he's like, I need a female voice in the background for this one, and I'll jump on that. But I'm sure we're gonna work on something one day, like an actual track, definitely, because he's family. So most of my songs that I've recorded have been at his studio as well. So yeah, definitely, I'm sure one day.
Okay, this is interesting. I don't think I've left anything else. As we just conclude, we'll just ask you that very thing we ask. What's the legacy you're trying to build as Melissa?
Ooh, that's a very deep question.
Yeah.
The legacy I'm trying to build. Very deep. I definitely want to make sure that I leave a legacy that just says, Melissa was a good person that was trying to help people. I feel like kindness and love, that should be like the core. Like, if I was to leave the room and people speak on like Melissa, those are the words that I would appreciate, hearing about myself. Just knowing that, she was always loving and kind, and it is possible. Because a lot of things feel like, okay, when you reach certain levels in life, you know, people change and things like that. But I would love and I pray that that core stays, you know, with me. But yeah, definitely just helping people and just developing.
You like relating with helping people.
Yeah.
One thing I know about people who like helping people is because they're more like paying back to life. But then you also seem like a rich kid.
Do I?
Yeah. Of course, you've also been blessed. You've German-Uganda, you travel 3 months, you're back in Uganda. That's not normal man lifestyle. So the people I know that help people a lot, and I'm saying this because I've been helped a lot by a lot of people. But then when I sit down with them and find out why they're doing all this, is because they're more like paying back debt to life. They have, most I know have grown up with very harsh backgrounds, and maybe one person helped them, so they're indebted to life, and they get to pay back, just like helping other hands. But then you don't seem to be that example. You have your parents around.
Yeah.
Everything looks. Of course, it's not like it's all clear on a silver plate, but yeah, of course, it's better than the average human being.
Yeah. I think, you know, with me, I've seen a lot in life at a very young stage and age. There's times where we didn't have anything. I think that's why I'm also, my father's like a huge inspiration to me, because he survived a stroke. He's had, he's been in comas before, you know, been shut down and got independent. So for him, when he got sick, he wasn't working at all, as in no income. Because if you're in Germany and you work for a company or whatever and you get sick leave and they pay you still a little percentage. But he had that. So there's times where we literally did not have, you know, anything. I've had times where I haven't, you know, had anything. So I think just seeing that is possible, but then also knowing that even though because now you have to look at it like this. To me, I didn't have anything because I was in Germany, but it was because my surroundings were just different. If someone else in Uganda, maybe in a village somewhere or a ghetto, would have looked at me in that stage, they would say, Naira Kaliko, like she was still fine, you know, because she had a roof over her head. Okay, she maybe didn't have food for today, but maybe tomorrow. Do you get it? Like, it's not comparable as such, but to me, because of the environment I was in, it was definitely, you know, hard times. But then I think for me, just traveling back here and just having that comparison is just something that for me, I just feel like I see myself and I'm like, I could have been that, if that makes any sense. So I just feel like I just want to help, you know. And I know I cannot help everyone and, you know, do everything, but the little I can, you know.
But you can also help him. Anyhow, so as a woman who has grown up in two different worlds, you've seen both cultures. You've seen how women are treated in Uganda, and you've also been exposed out there. One, I'll ask you, do you want to get married to a German man or a Ugandan man?
If I would have it my way, he would be Ugandan.
What do you mean have it your way? Like,
well,
I thought you have to have it your way.
Definitely, yes, but you never know. God also has his own plans. But yeah, if it were up to me, if you just asked me up front, I would prefer that.
Why?
Just because I love Uganda so much, and I don't think a German could understand the love that I have for Uganda. And like, I'm always here, and he might, you know, it might get complicated, and just the culture differences and things like that.
Then do you also think it's easy to love Uganda from the side? Yeah,
I hear that a lot, and by the way, I'm very disturbed by that.
Yeah,
because let me tell you guys something.
Yeah.
Most of the young people that I speak to, that I hear, they say, "Oh, Uganda, biti." They complain a lot. But have you ever spoken to someone that grew up in Uganda and went to Bulaya for like a year or 2 years? They start saying, I miss home, I want to go back home.
All of the people,
exactly,
including my own sisters and siblings.
So, being here, I think it's the nature of human beings. You don't appreciate the things that you have. So it's not about being outside and loving. I think it's just about coming back and appreciating the country for what it's actually worth. If you've never been outside and you don't know how it is outside, we're gone. But they always say what the grass is greener on the other side or whatever. Yeah. So I think you always feel like, oh, it's better out there, it's better there, because you see the things on TV and media and whatever it is. But once you come back, you appreciate the things that Uganda is blessed with. Because let me tell you guys something.
What do you mean appreciate the things Uganda is blessed with? Like being green? Because we have bad governance, we have all this stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of things.
You also come from Masaka, and Masaka is suffering a big hit.
Definitely. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. But again, every country has its issues. It's just because you're here, you're focusing on your issues, which you should, because this is your environment. So you should be worried and concerned about what happens around you, but that does not mean nothing happens outside. Do you get what I'm saying? So I think it's just about understanding that every country has its issues, but what can you do as a person to make it better? Because I'm very much solution driven. I get frustrated when people complain a lot about things that they cannot change. So for me, for my mental health, I'm just like, let me do what I can. If I cannot do anything about the situation, leave it to God. But let me do what I can in my possibilities, instead of just complaining, and nothing, because we see the bad things. But okay, what can you do in your own position, in your circle around you? What is it that you can do? Do that. But don't think that other people outside don't have issues as well. They do.
Interesting. Now, that woman still on that whole thing. We have all these uprisings that come up, feminism and all that stuff. What's your view on the girl child and culture? Because you see, culture, as someone who really takes a lot of pride in their culture, it's very controversial, because then the Buganda culture has all these other things that I personally agree with as the man I am, who has also been raised in the culture.
For example?
I have a lot. A woman is supposed to respect their husband and all this stuff, supposed to kneel down for them, and because then supposed to be submissive, but out of love. That is how, because then I've also just grown up seeing my dad and my mom do just that, and it makes sense to my head now that I have grown up. There should be some bit of hierarchy. But then the average person like you who has been exposed thinks that no, we should all stand on the same ground. Yeah.
It's very interesting. I personally do feel like a man should be a man. I want to be submissive, but to a man that is doing his part. Funny story, my parents, I had a conversation with them some time back, and with them, my father has been, the head of the house when it comes to earning money and all of these things. My mom has had periods where she has also worked, definitely. But, he was the main breadwinner and, covering all these costs and whatever it is. And mom made sure, the home is a home. But they would also discuss, certain topics on one level. It's not like my dad just did whatever he wanted to and my mom didn't know all these things. But then when I talked to them and I asked them about, this whole thing of people now saying relationships should be 50-50, what do they think about it? My parents said they think that is right. My parents who didn't do 50-50, that's not the life they lived. But they said they would want me to be in a relationship where it's 50-50. My mom did also say that she wouldn't want me to be with someone that's now going to take me to struggle, because then I could also be alone. Because, I've been working since I was 14. I pay my own bills, bichi. I shouldn't downgrade my own lifestyle. But in the relationship as it is, it should be 50-50. I personally don't agree with that, With me, I know a lot of people don't agree with me, but I feel like my man should be my man. I still want us to be on the same level.
So if you fell in love with me
today,
and I am a broke ass, and you've been working since 14, but then you love me, and I would probably find you in a house, and you have a house and a car, would you be comfortable with me staying in your house?
I don't think so. Not because you're broke.
But remember, you love me.
I think it's the character trait. Because, like I said, I've been working since I was 14. So what were you doing all that time?
are struggling.
You get what?
To struggle.
No, struggle. We all have our struggles. But do you get what I'm saying? Like, okay, you're now, because I would think, because I'm 24, so I'm thinking my man, I don't know, probably older than me, maybe, I don't know, 28, 30, whatever it is. In all this time, you're now 30. I'm still at university. No, listen, I'm still in university. I'm already working. I can afford my life how it is now. But I'm trying to do more. And I'm helping people outside of that. You're telling me, what are you doing? You're broke. What's your plan in life? How do you want to survive? That doesn't make sense. I need someone that... No, you need to know. Guys. Frustrated. No. We're not gonna do that. No. There's being broke whereby, let's say you had a deal and it failed.
Yeah.
That happens. Yeah. Like I said, I've been through life. Had a lot, had nothing. Those things happen. Stroke, as you said, you have to have a plan as to, I have a plan. I want to do this now. Babe, I struggled, I failed. This, and be transparent. Don't show me at 10, try to, and then in the end I find out you're just there chilling. You're someone who's just going to sit there and I cook for you, I work, I study, I should clean you or whatever, and do all these things while you do what? Stare at me and say, oh babe, you're so beautiful. When you didn't even contribute to any of the beauty.
Okay, tables turn. We go. Do you think splitting the bill is also something people should be about? Or you also believe that the man should be the man and should be babied as the woman?
Yeah.
Like the Bible says, because you say every other 2 sentences you refer to God.
Yeah, I do.
Your Christianity is top notch.
Yes, definitely. Number
one
priority.
Though?
Why?
Yeah.
That's just who I am. God just, you go through life and things happen in life, and I feel like it's the testimony that people talk about. You go to your lowest point and you meet God for yourself, and because my parents took me to church, but then they stopped going when I was like 7 or 8. So I started taking myself and then taking my little brother. We would go, church would be far, by the way, like a journey of 1.5 hours. But me, little 8, 9-year-old, I would take my little brother and and we go, and that's just, how it was for me. So, definitely number one priority. But in terms of splitting the bill, as in what, rent and BT? Yeah, no, it's not happening.
You want the man to take care of that stuff.
Yeah, I do. You know what? And I find it interesting because a lot of guys are always like, oh, all I need is my woman to be the peace in my home. That's what I want. I want peace as well. Because like I said, at the stage where I am right now, the man who comes into my life has to add on to my life in some way. Do you get it? Because you need to convince me as to why I shouldn't continue my life how it is right now. Because right for now, I'm okay. So if you really want me and want to be with me, we need to be on the same pace, on the same page, and, kind of...
in the first 10 tips, so now I know what I have to do.
I'm dead! No, but honestly...
Yeah.
It's only right, though.
Yeah. It's only right because that is how we have grown up thinking. Yeah. But then also, because we want equal opportunity... Yeah. It's only right that things should be fair. To that,
But you know what? I also, when a lot of feminists, for example, say, oh, equality and things like that, I don't agree with that because as how God created us, we're different.
True.
Because you're not going to be able to carry a child for 9 months. That's always going to be a woman. Do you get it? Yeah. So there's certain things just biologically... it was a little stunt that he did there, but it's just not possible. So we're not going to be able to be the same. But when it comes to let's say we're doing the same job, we should get the same payment. Yes, because we're doing the same job. Those things I agree with, but there's certain things, when I'm pregnant.
So if we're doing the same job, we're getting the same payment.
Yeah.
We have the same bank account.
Yes.
With the same amount of money. Yeah. We probably worked for 5 years.
Yes. My husband is still going to be taking care of our bills. Yeah. Period. And I know a lot of people don't agree with me, but that's my own. I told you, my own parents sat me down and said, no, you should do 50-50. And I said, no. Because I feel like my husband's money, and I'm talking about a husband, not a boyfriend. Because I've had, your boyfriend telling me, I want to do your hair, bitty. No, you don't need to cover those bills for me. So my transport, I hear a lot of crazy things. So that stuff, no, I can do that. But once we go and get married and we say, I do, in front of God and our witnesses that we have there, we become one.
One person.
Now.
With the same bank account.
Exactly. His money as a man is our money. My money, and this is what I saw from my parents, so I guess that's...
For you to keep pretty for me.
No. My money is, first of all, a security backup for me. And second of all, it can be for, like, our parents. Even his parents. Because that's how I grew up. My mother... My jaja, Azala Tata. My mom at home, she buys most of the things with her money. And it's not her mom, it's my dad's mom. She does that. Covering anything, they can call my mom, which is fine. But when it comes to our rent, as in our house at home, no, he needs to, He needs to be the husband. But I'm not saying if he has a dry whatever and struggling whatever, I'm not saying I would never
come through.
No, cut my money. And no, I'm not that type of person. I would definitely give and contribute on what that is. But mainly the main essence of how things should work. Yeah, I feel like that's how
the man should be the man.
Yes, but also.
But are you willing to really have my matoke in like? Why wouldn't you be kneeling?
Because I never saw that with my parents.
Yeah?
I think I do that like with my grandparents, my uncles and things like that, my Sengas, I kneel. But my parents, even my mom who's so cultured, she never had.
But then you can kneel, you don't want to kneel to give me food, but then you can kneel.
To greet my elders. Yeah, I can.
Wow.
You know when I'll kneel?
Yeah.
At the Kwanjula.
And at night.
Wow.
Because that's how it's designed anyway.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think.
That's where it starts from.
Okay.
But if you're willing to kneel at the Kwanjula, you're kneeling for people, yeah? Why wouldn't you kneel for... Okay, I do not like people to kneel down for me, actually.
No, even if we go to my judge's home, we're there, yeah? And she's giving me food or whatever, I will kneel and give you food. But outside of that, no. And I guess it's a respect that I have for my grandmother. Because she's 95. I cannot now sit there and... She's lived her life. That's how she sees things, which is fine. I love her the way she is.
Okay.
That's okay. But outside of that, I just didn't see it with my parents either. So I guess that's where I have that from.
Okay. I appreciate that. Thank you, Melissa. This has been so good. Yeah, definitely have to work on that Make You Proud video.